So today I am excited to be sharing my thoughts on this funny book. It's titled Tall Tales by Obi Echezona. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Rachel here. As always, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing. I create content on books, bookish recommendations, bookish tips, reading tips, everything books, some mental health content and some lifestyle content. So like I said, today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts and doing a book review on Tall Tales by Obi Echezona. This book was simply hilarious, you guys. Like, I cannot remember the last time I read something that made me laugh out loud. It's actually a collection of short stories, and if you follow me on my channel, you know that I do not read a whole lot of collections of short stories. Yes, I don't read a whole lot of that. Why? Because I just get too attached to a story and I want to see it through, and I feel like short stories sort of yank it out of you. But I was actually sent this book from the book lady NG. You can follow them on Instagram and Twitter, and I actually did not regret it, you guys. I'm not kidding. I think the last time I laughed out loud when I was reading was The Mechanics of Yenegoa, and when I read Becoming Nigerian by Nathan John. Like, that was simply amazing, and this one too was really great. I'm going to be sharing what my highlights were in the books, what my reservations were, and just generally what I thought of it. So if you're looking for something very light and interesting to read, something that you're guaranteed to laugh, especially if you like dark humor, like, you know, the type of humor that is subtle, sarcastic, it's dark, it's like, oh my goodness, from where to where now, then you can definitely get this book. But yeah, let's get into it. Obi Echezona is a Nigerian writer. He enjoys writing, music, sports and traveling, and he lives in Lagos with his family. Now, Tall Tales is a collection of short stories that covers a diverse spectrum of experiences with emphasis on dark humor and exaggerations. The stories are full of life and bubbly with unforgettable characters. The first three stories, Query, Jekyll and Hyde, and Monthly Performance Review, are based on the experiences of a banker as he carries out his daily duties. Electric Pole highlights the bizarre ways life is lived and lost in contemporary Nigeria. Chronic Hunger is about the irony of life through the eyes of a starving 13-year-old. New Money paints a picture of a dysfunctional society that blindly lusts after wealth regardless of its source. Child Abuse details a typical day in the life of a house girl, but with a twist at the end. Sanitation Day is a satire of sorts. People have become one with filth with disastrous consequences. I like someone. In the dream, the protagonist has a vivid dream about an eccentric spinster and her mango tree. Just a Little Robbery is about three boys who decide to rob a mall, only for one of them to encounter unwanted circumstances. In The Lift, a young woman enters a car ride that rapidly becomes a life and death struggle with a lunatic. When John's car broke down in an uncertain terrain, the sight of one lonely house was more than welcome. However, he soon discovers that all is not how it seems in the halfway house. In Weight Problems, things go from bad to worse for an obese lady keen on suicide. Farewell Party is set in the far future where perfection is everything and flaws are not allowed. So I absolutely love the way this book was so hilarious with dark humor and exaggerations, but it still tackled a lot of important themes. The first three stories, that Query, Jekyll and Hyde, and Monthly Performance Review, you guys, when I started this book, I kid you not, these three first stories, I was howling. Like, I think laughing is even putting it nicely. I was literally howling. Like, if you live in Nigeria and you've worked in the banking industry, like, this guy did it. He did it good, and the writing was perfect for these three stories. The writing was everything. I was like, wow, this person can actually write. The one that really just killed me was when, you know, during Monthly Performance Review, because some of the bankers had been lying at every monthly review that, don't worry, our branch is going to hit this target. Our branch is, by God's grace, next month we'll do this, we'll do that. But their numbers were actually reducing, but they'll be saying, no, we promise. So they now brought Bible, Quran, traditional materials. They set it down for people to come out to present, you know, with the PowerPoint and everything. and they set all these things down. They made each person say what their religion is, and then the person will swear by whatever instrument you use in your religion. So if you're a Christian, you swear by the Bible. If you're a Muslim, you swear by the Quran that you're not lying, that next month, the next month projection you're giving is not a lie or is not an exaggeration. Oh my goodness, like it was just too funny the way all these things were described, and I really loved the character. It was written in the first person narrative, and that main character in those 3 stories was Bright. It was almost like as if it was a continuous, you know, they were all kind of joined together but different stories. So I absolutely liked them. I know that while I was reading the 3rd and the 4th and maybe the 5th stories a little bit, I got a little bit sidetracked with the misuse of the 10th son. I was like, oh my goodness, no, not this again. Chronic Hunger was about a girl who was starving and went to get food, and ironically, you know, the story was through her eyes. It was written in 3rd person narrative though, but ironically she went to a house to go and get food, and you know, the things that were going on in that house were just amazing to her, because this is somebody who is literally starving and trying to get some food. I really liked New Money because New Money, just that's a short story, it really just showed what actually happens in the Nigerian society, especially as it relates to accumulation of wealth, where a lot of people don't care, even family members, friends don't care about the source of your accumulation of wealth until the whole kasala will burst. Then everybody now be like, I knew it. Meanwhile, you were joining them to say God when, to comment on their Instagram page, so whatever. But that's not what the story, not the Instagram page was not part of the story, but I'm just saying that's what happens, and this short story was able to explore that in just a number of pages. The child abuse one to also tackle that deep theme of, you know, child labor, especially when you have all these house girls that are really young. This was a 12-year-old girl who was being maltreated by her auntie, and it just detailed the typical day in her life as a house girl. And there was this weird plot twist at the end from the person who she was actually working for, who is actually her auntie. And you see how they say, well, every day for the thief, one day for, you know. And then sanitation day was ridiculous. I laughed, like it was just so silly. I couldn't, and I cringed because I was like, oh my goodness, people are literally living in filth. If you see the description of where these people were living, and then there was a restaurant that was near it, and then there were flies from the refuse that were, and the gutters that were coming to the restaurant, but nobody cared. Oh my goodness, there's this part where he described that the woman at the canteen was using broom to ward away flies, and then she used the same broom inside the soup. Oh God, I just, at that point, you know, I was done. I'm like, nah, these people, like, this guy needs to leave me alone. And then and then there were pigs inside the refuse, and then the pigs started fighting, and then the flies now moved because the pigs had fought, and then the flies moved into the restaurant, and then everybody started fighting because somebody was trying to hit away a fly, mistakenly hit somebody who hit another person. Before you know it, the whole restaurant, they were all fighting. They were fighting. Honestly, I promise the description is way funnier than how I'm saying it. The whole restaurant started fighting. Like, I literally have to just give a spoiler for this story. The whole restaurant started fighting. Next minute, everybody was fighting in the restaurant, but then they made the restaurant out of wood and some weird things, and it was on top of the gutter. Before you knew it, the whole restaurant caved in with the people inside fighting, and they all fell into the refuse and the gutter, and then the road and everything disappeared, and there's no more that street again in Lagos. I lost it, but I promise you the description was very on point. I actually really liked it. The dream, I enjoyed that one quite a little bit. It was quite weird, even just a little robbery. I actually liked that one too, and I like the title of it. In the lift, that one too made me laugh. This woman who this woman who enters into a bus, and the bus breaks down, a car, and then she enters into a car of somebody. She doesn't even know who the person is, but she's like, please just take me. And she and one girl who became friends inside the car that broke down, they were saying, what will we do? Maybe we'll walk together. As soon as one car just came and said, I'm only taking one person, two of them fought, pushed each other. We're fighting for a spot to get into the car. That's how this girl now got the spot, and she did not know who she went to go and jam. When I say she didn't know who she jammed, she jammed rock, like literally. You don't even want to know what the guy was doing and thinking as she entered into the car. And that was another ride that she went. Let's just call it the ride of her life. It was really a fight of life or death. And then Halfway House was so weird. Like, I was like, okay, but Halfway House kind of sounds like all these short stories that belong in movies. Like, it would be your typical horror movie. It was like so weird, I kid you not. In Weight Problems, I really liked Weight Problems because it tackled something. It tackled like body shaming, fat phobia, those type of things, like where people actually insult people because of their weight. And this was a woman who was battling with this, that she had thought about ending her life by attempting suicide. And it was the way the writer wrote, man, I actually commend him, because when I read this Weight Problems, at first I was like, I don't know how he's going to describe it in a way that will not be insulting to her, but the way he was able to make light of a situation that was so heavy, especially when he described her trying to you know, end her life, it was so funny. It was really funny when she tried to end her life. Let me not say how she tried to end her life, but it was funny. And then her resolve at the end, when she tried to end her life and it didn't work, what she now resolved to do, I really love to see that. So I like the way he tackled something so serious, you know, but yeah, he put like a nice comedic, dark, humorous twist to it. Farewell Party is set in the far future. This one scattered my head, because this particular short story was the longest towards the end, and it's the one that will basically stay with you the most. This was written by somebody who is like writing from 2000, you know, we're in 2022 now. This is somebody who's writing from 2222 or something like that, 2124 in that year. And man, oh man, see, if that is how life is going to be, please make I just go this early 2000s, because I don't even know where this imagination from this guy came from. But that book was that particular short story was insane. Like, it was insane. That short story, I feel like it should be developed into a longer format of maybe not too long a book, but it was interesting, man. People are eating people. There are now cars. Drones deliver your food, so you don't even go out to eat anymore. They're like all these cars that hover around, like the way you see them in movies. The people who have cars in this thing are the poor ones, or they're the ones that don't even have anything. Then whether they're on the sea level, and then if you see the amount of refuse and trash that has piled up on the earth by then, there's so much going on. Like, people are eating their family members, eating themselves. In fact, you go to a restaurant and order for I want thighs. Like, when you say thighs, you mean human thighs. I want human thighs. And then you can pick whatever race you want. So do you want a dark-skinned Negro, or do you want Caucasian? You ask. If you say you want Caucasian, this person even had a usual, she liked Caucasian thighs. Oh gosh, they will even grill it for you, Seth. And man, I was like, nah, this guy's mind was on another level. Anyway, those were basically like a lot of the stories. Obviously, my favorites were definitely the first three. I really liked Sanitation Day. I liked Jekyll and Hyde. I liked Query Monthly Performance, The Lift. I liked Farewell Party and Weight Problems. Those were my favorites, but I really enjoyed this read. It's a funny one by Obi Echezona. So if you're looking for a light read, while I would say that this book is 188 pages, and I'm tempted to say, oh, it's not that long in that it hasn't gotten to 200 pages. I know that the print is quite small, but trust me, it's like really funny, and I totally enjoyed it. I think it's at Roving Heights, and you can get it, maybe check on Amazon or other places. But this was a lovely read for me. I'm glad I read it, because it's been a while that I laughed from a book, and I really appreciate books that make me laugh. So I'll add it to my recommendations of books that make me laugh. You can check my previous videos. I know I've done a video on that. So let me know if you've read this book, if it's something that you'd want to try out. Like this video, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.